The starship drifted silently through the black void. Its metal hull glinted faintly under distant starlight. Captain Ryland stared at the navigation screen, tension in his shoulders. He had been sent on a mission no human had dared attempt before. A distant alien world had called for aid, but something felt off. Ryland had never seen this alien species in person. The transmissions he received were brief and formal, but one thing was clear. The planet was ruled by a single powerful figure, the alien queen. The messages spoke of unrest, threats from unknown enemies, and a plea for help. Yet, the way the signals were transmitted carried an odd hesitation, a nervousness that humans rarely detected. As the ship approached the planet, a glowing energy barrier shimmered above the atmosphere. The navigation computer struggled to stabilize. The ship. "We're entering an unknown field," the computer warned in a calm, neutral voice. "Sensors are reading. Anomalies. Proceed with caution." Ryland gritted his teeth and adjusted the ship's controls. He had trained for this, but nothing in simulations could match the real tension of facing a powerful alien civilization for the first time. Below, the planet's surface looked strange, a mix of jagged rocks, wide purple plains, and swirling storms. The signals he had tracked led him to a massive city that sparkled under the strange light of twin suns. When the ship finally landed on a wide platform outside the main palace, Ryland could feel the gravity shifting in unusual ways. The architecture was unlike anything humans had built, tall, spiraling towers with flowing organic shapes that seemed to breathe. The air shimmered faintly as if it carried energy itself. Ryland stepped out, his boots clanging softly on the metallic floor. His suit's sensors adjusted to the atmosphere. He could sense life forms nearby, but none approached. Then, in a quiet hall ahead, a figure appeared. She stood taller than any human, her posture regal, her skin glinting with colors that changed as she moved. The alien queen. Ryland froze for a moment, not out of fear, but from the sheer presence she radiated. He had studied reports about alien rulers before, but nothing prepared him for this. She was clearly in command, yet there was an unmistakable shock on her face when she noticed him. Ryland raised a hand in a gesture of peace. "I come in peace. I received your call for help." The queen's eyes widened slightly. Her glowing aura shifted rapidly. You are human," she said. Her voice was musical but firm, carrying authority. "No human has ever crossed my skies. How did you reach us?" Ryland kept his voice calm. "We have advanced technology, yes. But more than that, humans adapt. We learn quickly and we never give up." Her gaze softened slightly, but her posture remained strong. "Adaptation. I have heard of your kind's reputation. Yet I did not expect one to arrive alone. This is unusual." Ryland stepped closer, noticing the intricate designs on her armor. Even though she moved with elegance, there was strength in every motion. "You called for help. I am here to understand the problem and, if possible, to solve it." The queen regarded him for a long moment. "The situation is complicated. My world is under threat from forces beyond your comprehension. But you are brave to come here without armies or reinforcements." Ryland nodded. "Bravery alone does not make a solution, but understanding does. Tell me what is happening." The queen motioned for him to follow. As they walked through the grand halls of her palace, Ryland could see the city's strange life forms moving below. Some looked like floating plants, others like crystal beings reflecting the twin suns' light. All were silent, observing the pair as they passed. "My advisors, they warn me constantly," she said, her voice steady but filled with worry. "They fear outsiders. They believe no human could help. But the threat is different. It is not like other wars. This is a challenge that requires Insight. Rylan listened carefully, noting every detail. Insight comes from observation. Tell me everything you know, every detail of what is happening. She paused in a room that seemed to glow from the walls themselves. Holographic maps floated above a table, showing regions of her planet under attack by unknown ships. These intruders do not communicate. They take without reason. Our defenses can barely hold. Many of my people fear that our civilization may not survive the year. Rylan studied the maps, tracing the movements of the alien ships. They are advanced but predictable in their patterns. With the right approach, your people can survive. But I will need full access to your defenses and knowledge. The Queen looked at him, her expression a mixture of surprise and respect. You speak with confidence, human. Many of my generals would hesitate. You see things clearly. Rylan allowed a small smile. I have seen humanity survive against impossible odds. Adaptation is our greatest strength. With that mindset, your enemies may not expect what comes next. The Queen's aura shimmered again, softer now. Perhaps this was fate. That a human would come alone, and yet carry the courage to help. If what you say is true, then we may have hope. She gestured to the table, and holograms shifted to display defensive systems, weaponry, and troop movements. Learn everything. Prepare our strategy. I will watch and decide when to act. Rylan took a deep breath. This was the first step. The mission had just begun, and the stakes were higher than anything he had ever faced. But as he looked at the Queen, surprised, cautious, yet open, he realized that humans might have a chance to change the course of this alien world's history. Outside the palace, the twin suns shone bright against the strange purple skies. The city hummed with quiet energy. Inside, two unlikely allies began a careful partnership, one born not from force, but from courage and insight. Rylan knew the coming days would test him in ways unimaginable. But for the first time, he felt the quiet thrill of hope, not just for himself, but for the people of this alien world, and for humanity's place among the stars. And as the Queen studied him with eyes full of surprise and cautious trust, one thing was clear: the humans had arrived, and the galaxy would never see them the same way again. The next day, the palace was alive with quiet tension. Rylan had spent the night reviewing the alien defensive systems and reading through reports about past attacks. Even though he was human, he tried to think like the Queen's people. Every choice mattered. Every move could decide the survival of the planet. The Queen appeared again, her expression serious. "Rylan," she said, her voice steady, "we have watched your kind on distant worlds. You survive in ways that no other species can. Yet, can you truly help us without armies?" Rylan smiled faintly. "You don't need armies if you use strategy and adaptability. Strength comes not just from numbers, but from knowing your enemy." She raised an eyebrow. "Then show me. Explain what you will do." Rylan pointed to the holographic map on the table. "These invaders attack in waves, always the same pattern. Their ships are strong but not fast to change. We can use that against them. First, we need to protect the population. Evacuate those in danger zones. Then, we set traps to weaken the attackers before they reach the city. Finally, we strike where they are weakest." The Queen listened carefully, her aura flickering with interest. "Your plan? It is unusual. Yet it may work. Humans think differently than my generals. You surprise me." Rylan nodded. "That is our nature. We adapt quickly. We observe and act, and we never give up." Over the next hours, Rylan worked with the Queen's advisors. Some were skeptical, muttering in their strange language. Others watched quietly, clearly impressed by the human's confidence and insight. Rylan did not falter. He explained every detail, from defensive positioning to energy shield adjustments, from troop coordination to diversion tactics. By the afternoon, the Queen called for a meeting with the city's defenders. Ryland stood at the head of the table, pointing at the holograms as alien commanders listened carefully. "You must remain calm during the attacks. Panic will destroy your people faster than the enemy ever could. Trust in your strategy. Use the environment. The attackers expect direct resistance. Show them something they cannot predict." A tall, armored officer spoke. "But human, your knowledge is limited. You do not understand our full technology." Ryland's voice was calm but firm. "Perhaps, but my advantage is clarity. I see what your generals sometimes overlook because they think too much like your enemy. If you follow the plan, you survive. If not, you risk everything," the Queen observed quietly. Her shock from yesterday had softened into a cautious curiosity. She could sense that this human was different, not reckless, not arrogant, but determined. His courage carried a weight that demanded attention. As the meeting ended, Ryland and the Queen stepped into a balcony overlooking the city. Below, strange vehicles moved quickly along the streets, transporting supplies and civilians. Energy fields shimmered, protecting the most important areas. "You are confident," the Queen said softly, almost as if speaking to herself. "I have never met one like you. Most of my visitors are timid or proud. You are neither. You are focused." Ryland looked at her. Focus can win battles, but it cannot replace courage. You have courage too. Without it, none of this matters. She considered his words, her glowing aura shifting slightly. Perhaps humans have something we have forgotten, something more than strength or technology. Ryland gave a small nod. "We have something all species can learn from: persistence, the will to survive, and the ability to act when others hesitate." Before she could respond, alarms echoed through the palace. Sensors picked up multiple fast-moving ships approaching from the horizon. Ryland's eyes sharpened. "They're coming sooner than I expected." The Queen's eyes widened. "Already?" "We are ready, mostly. But they may strike, harder than ever." Ryland scanned the approaching fleet. "Not too fast for us, but you must act carefully. Split your forces. Draw their attention here, then hit the flank. Use the terrain. They underestimate humans, and they may underestimate me too." The Queen motioned for the troops to prepare. Ryland moved among the commanders, giving quick advice, adjusting positions, and coordinating energy shields. The invaders were fast, but the human strategy emphasized precision over brute force. The first wave struck. Ships swooped low, firing. Strange energy beams. Buildings shook, but the shields held. Civilians fled to safer areas, guided by the Queen's loyal soldiers. Ryland watched closely, adjusting plans as needed. He noticed patterns immediately, how the attackers reacted, how they tried to predict movements. With each wave, he guided the defenders to shift formations, use new angles, and trap the invaders. Slowly, the enemy began to lose ground, frustrated by the unexpected tactics. The Queen observed silently, her initial shock now replaced by admiration. "Perhaps humans are as clever as the legends say," she whispered. Hours passed. The battle continued, intense and precise. Ryland stayed focused, his mind racing with calculations and observations. He could see the fatigue on the Queen's people, but their morale was holding because he had given them hope. By evening, the invaders had retreated, their numbers reduced and their tactics broken. The city had suffered damage, but the people survived. The Queen's aura glowed softly, a sign of relief and respect. Ryland turned to her. "This is only the beginning. They will return, and next time they will be stronger." The Queen nodded, her voice quiet but firm. "Then we will be ready. With you here, human, perhaps we can survive anything." Ryland allowed a small smile. "Humans always survive, and sometimes we even turn the impossible into victory." For the first time, the Queen allowed herself a small smile. The human had not only helped save her city, but also changed her view of what courage and strength could mean. Outside, the twin suns dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the city. Inside, Rylan and the alien queen shared a quiet understanding. They were from different worlds, yet their goals aligned. Together, they had faced impossible odds and survived. And somewhere deep in the shadows of the galaxy, new threats were already forming. But the humans had arrived, and the Queen now knew that their survival might depend on more than just power. It might depend on courage, strategy, and the unyielding human spirit. The following morning, the air in the palace felt tense. Rylan had barely slept, reviewing the previous day's battle and planning for the next. The Queen's advisors spoke quietly among themselves, still unsure of this human's methods. Yet, they had witnessed the results. The invaders were gone, for now, but their retreat was only temporary. The Queen entered the strategy room, her presence commanding attention. "Rylan," she said, her glowing aura flickering with determination. "We cannot assume they will strike the same way again. You saw how fast they adapted. If we do not prepare, my people will suffer." Rylan nodded. "I agree. They will. Learn from their mistakes. We must do the same. Adaptability will be our greatest weapon next." The Queen motioned to the holographic table. "Show me your plan." Rylan leaned over the display, pointing at the map. "First, we need to strengthen the city's defenses further. Reinforce shields, increase patrols, and create layered traps. Second, we need intelligence. We must know the enemy's movements before they strike. Third, we train your troops in rapid response tactics. Finally, we prepare an unexpected counterattack. We cannot wait for them to come to us again. We must go to them when the time is right." The Queen watched him, her expression thoughtful. "You speak of attacking, yet you came alone. How can you be so certain?" Rylan straightened. "I've faced impossible odds before. Humans survive when others fail. And sometimes the enemy is surprised not by numbers, but by determination and insight." She studied him closely, her aura shifting with intrigue. "You have courage, unlike any human I've read about in our histories. Perhaps your species truly is different." Rylan allowed a small smile. "We survive because we adapt, and we fight because we believe there is always a way." As the day progressed, Rylan moved through the city, examining defenses and speaking to the troops. He noticed fear, but also a growing sense of hope. Every commander he met, every soldier he spoke to, seemed to carry a spark of confidence that hadn't been there before. Meanwhile, the Queen watched from above, observing the human among her people. His calm confidence inspired others, something her generals had never managed to do. "Perhaps humans are more than legends," she whispered to herself. Late in the afternoon, a messenger arrived. His expression was grave. "Your Highness, sensors detect a new fleet approaching. They are faster, larger, and more aggressive than before. We estimate arrival within 2 hours." Rylan immediately scanned the readings. "They are planning a coordinated strike, targeting multiple points simultaneously. This is why we cannot—" "Wait, we must act first," the Queen nodded. "Then we strike, but I will need you to guide our forces." Rylan smiled faintly. "We'll work together. Strategy is stronger than fear." Within the hour, troops were positioned according to Rylan's plan. He had split them into smaller, mobile units, each capable of rapid response. Energy shields were reinforced, defensive traps set, and sensors adjusted for maximum coverage. Civilians were moved to safe zones efficiently, thanks to Rylan's precise instructions. The first signs of the invaders appeared as streaks of light in the sky. Ships moved quickly, but Rylan had anticipated their approach. "Hold your fire. "Until they reach the traps," he instructed. "Do not reveal everything at once." The invaders struck, just as Rylan predicted. Ships flew into layered traps, energy nets capturing some, while others were forced into narrow canyons where their movement was restricted. Rylan coordinated with the Queen, sending commands to her generals, guiding them with calm authority. The Queen watched in awe. "Your insight. It is remarkable. How can one human know so much?" Rylan replied without looking away from the battlefield. "I study patterns, I observe behavior, and I adapt faster than most. That is what humans do." As the battle unfolded, Rylan noticed a gap in the invaders' formation. "Now!" he called. "Strike at the center! Focus fire here!" Energy beams and defensive weapons targeted the weak point, causing confusion among the enemy. Ships collided, some were captured, and the remaining forces began retreating. The city's defenders moved with precision, carrying out Rylan's orders flawlessly. Hours later, the sky cleared, and the invaders were gone again, retreating to parts unknown. The city had suffered minimal damage compared to what had been possible, and the people cheered quietly for their survival. The Queen approached Rylan. "You have done more than save my city. You have inspired my people. They now see that even against impossible odds, there is hope." Rylan shook his head. "I didn't do this alone. Your people followed orders, adapted, and fought bravely. Humans can guide, but they cannot replace the courage of those willing to act." She nodded, her glowing aura shifting to a warmer tone. "Perhaps there is a lesson here. Strength is not only in power, but in unity and understanding. And you, human, have shown us that clearly." Rylan allowed himself a moment of quiet satisfaction. He knew the invaders would return, but for the first time, the Queen and her people had a strategy, a plan, and hope. And humans thrived on hope, especially when it was combined with action and determination. As night fell, the twin suns dipped below the horizon, casting shadows across the palace and city. The streets were quiet, but the sense of vigilance remained. Rylan and the Queen walked together along a balcony, looking out at the city below. "You speak often of survival," the Queen said softly. "Do you think humans can survive anything?" Rylan looked at her, eyes steady. "We survive because we try, because we never give up, because we adapt, and because we help those who cannot help themselves. That is our strength." She considered his words, her aura glowing faintly in the dim light. "Then perhaps, together, we can survive the coming storm. With humans among us, I see hope." For the first time in many cycles, Rylan smiled faintly, "And that hope will grow stronger with each day. We will prepare, we will adapt, and we will overcome. The galaxy will not see us coming until it is too late for our enemies." And in that quiet moment, above the glowing city and the alien horizon, two leaders from different worlds silently agreed. Survival was not just about power. It was about courage, strategy, and the will to act. And together, they had all three. The battle was won for now, but the war for the planet and perhaps the galaxy was only beginning. And humans were ready. The morning after the second battle brought a strange calm. The city still shimmered under the twin suns, but tension hung in the air. Everyone knew the invaders would return, and this time, they might bring more advanced technology. Rylan moved quickly through the palace, reviewing defense reports and speaking to commanders. The Queen watched from a balcony above, her posture as regal as ever. Yet there was a trace of doubt in her glowing aura. Could this human really guide them through what was coming? Rylan approached her. "Queen, we need more than defense. We need intelligence. We must know where the enemy comes from, what they want, and how they think. The Queen nodded. I agree. But our scouts risk much. The enemy's patrols are faster now. Many will not return. Ryland's eyes narrowed. Then we find another way. Humans do not rely only on scouts. We adapt. We observe patterns, listen to signals, and we create opportunities where others see none. She studied him, curiosity replacing some of her worry. You truly think like no other being I have met. How do you remain so calm? Ryland smiled faintly. Calm comes from understanding. Fear comes from uncertainty. Remove uncertainty, and you remove fear. With her permission, Ryland went to the city's observation towers. He examined the sky and the surrounding space, scanning for patterns in the invaders' previous attacks. He noticed something others had missed, subtle energy trails left by the ships that hinted at their origin points. This is it, Ryland said quietly to himself. If we can trace these, we can predict their next move before they even arrive. He began coordinating with the Queen's technicians, teaching them how to track these trails. Within hours, they had created a predictive map of possible enemy paths. Ryland then instructed small teams to monitor these paths, ready to relay any movement immediately. Meanwhile, the Queen gathered her advisors. Observe what he does, she said. Watch closely. Perhaps this human has knowledge that can save us all. The hours passed, and Ryland continued refining the defense strategy. He combined predictive tracking with advanced energy field manipulation, creating zones where the invaders' ships would become trapped or slowed. Troops practiced rapid deployment tactics, learning from the human's example. By midday, Ryland had a new plan. He presented it to the Queen. The invaders are clever, but predictable in ways. They rely on speed and force. We can turn their strength into weakness. We will let them approach, but within our carefully prepared zones, they will lose control. Then we strike decisively at key points, cutting off their advance before it reaches the city. The Queen's eyes widened. It is bold, dangerous. Yet, it may work. You understand the enemy better than my generals ever could. Ryland nodded. It is not about knowing everything. It is about seeing what others overlook and acting with confidence. The enemy expects us to react. Instead, we will act first. As night fell, the city hummed with quiet preparation. Troops moved silently, setting up energy barriers, traps, and rapid response teams. Civilians were guided to safe zones with precise efficiency. Ryland moved among the teams, offering guidance, encouragement, and insight. Suddenly, sensors detected movement on the horizon. The invaders were approaching again. This time, Ryland had anticipated them. He directed the Queen's forces to their designated positions. Every soldier, every energy shield, every trap was in place. The first wave arrived faster than before. But as the ships entered the prepared zones, they were caught in energy nets and slowed by traps. Ryland observed their movements, sending commands to shift defenses and focus fire on the vulnerable areas. The invaders struggled against the unexpected strategy. Their speed, once their greatest advantage, became a liability. Confusion spread through their ranks, giving the city's defenders a clear upper hand. The Queen watched from above, awe replacing her previous shock. This human, he is teaching us how to think differently, how to survive differently. Perhaps this is what humans always bring to a battlefield: clarity and courage. Ryland's voice rang across the tactical channels. Concentrate fire on the largest ships. Smaller ships will be trapped and slowed. Focus on disabling their command center first. The rest will follow. As the battle raged, Ryland noticed a small group of enemy ships trying to flank the city. Not today, he muttered, and directed the response teams to intercept. Within minutes, the flanking ships were neutralized. Hours passed, and the invaders retreated once more, leaving behind damaged ships and a battered yet safe city. The defenders cheered quietly, exhaustion and relief mixing in their expressions. The Queen descended to meet Rylan. Her aura glowed warmly, a mix of respect and gratitude. "You have done more than protect my people. You have given them hope and taught them to act with clarity. I have never seen such courage and insight." Rylan shook his head. "I only guide. Your people fought bravely, followed the plan, and adapted. Humans survive because we adapt. But courage must come from those willing to act. Your people have that courage." She smiled faintly. "Perhaps. Humans are truly different from what I expected. They not only survive, but inspire." Rylan looked toward the horizon, where distant stars glimmered like tiny points of light. "The invaders will return. They always do. But now, your people are ready. They understand strategy, adaptation, and courage. And with that, even the impossible can be faced." The Queen nodded, her expression resolute. "Then we prepare. And with humans among us, perhaps there is no challenge we cannot overcome." Outside, the city glimmered in the soft light of the twin moons rising in the alien sky. Inside, the Queen and the human stood side by side, planning, learning, and building a partnership that could change the fate of the planet, and perhaps the galaxy itself. Rylan knew that the coming days would bring new challenges. But for the first time, the alien queen and her people had hope. And as long as humans were there, adapting, thinking, and leading, hope was more than just a word. It was a weapon. The city was safe, for now. But beyond the horizon, the galaxy waited, full of dangers, mysteries, and challenges that would test every ounce of courage, and humans would be ready. The next morning, the city was quiet, but tension hung in the air like a heavy cloud. Rylan moved quickly through the palace halls, checking every system, every report. The previous battles had tested the city, but the invaders had shown that they would return, and stronger this time. The Queen entered the strategy room, her glowing aura flickering with concern. "Rylan," she said, her voice steady but urgent, "we cannot underestimate them again. Their attacks will be smarter, faster, and more coordinated. Are your plans ready?" Rylan nodded, examining the holographic map. "Yes. We have studied their patterns, strengthened defenses, and trained your troops in rapid response. But the key is to use their expectations against them. They anticipate direct attacks, but we will give them something unexpected." The Queen tilted her head. "Something unexpected? Explain." Rylan leaned over the map. "We will divide our forces into decoys and strike teams. Some will appear to defend the city, drawing the invaders into traps. Others will move stealthily, targeting their command points and supply ships. We strike where they are weakest, not where they are strongest. Adaptability will win this battle." She studied him closely. "You truly think like no other human I have met. Most rely on force or numbers. You rely on insight." Rylan smiled faintly. "Insight and courage, strength without wisdom, is useless. But insight without action is also useless. We combine both." The Queen gestured to the troops. "Then we prepare, show them how humans survive, and perhaps how my people can survive as well." For the next few hours, Rylan guided the soldiers and energy teams. He oversaw the placement of traps, the timing of patrols, and the coordination of decoy forces. He moved among them, offering encouragement, answering questions, and teaching them to anticipate enemy movements. By midday, the horizon flickered with the approach of the enemy fleet. Larger than before, more aggressive, and faster than ever. Rylan's eyes narrowed. They have learned some lessons from before, but not all. We still hold the advantage if we act precisely. The Queen observed from the balcony, her glowing aura shifting with determination. Your confidence, it is contagious. Even my generals seem less doubtful when you speak. Rylan checked the sensors and tactical displays. They will split into 3 groups. The center will attempt a direct strike, the flanks will try to bypass defenses, and a smaller unit may attempt sabotage. We counter each one step by step. As the first wave of enemy ships entered the city's airspace, the traps were triggered. Energy nets immobilized several ships, while defensive fire slowed others. Civilians moved to safe zones under the guidance of Ryland's plans. The invaders reacted with confusion. Their precision and speed now became a liability. Ryland directed the defenders calmly. Focus on the command ships first. Smaller ships will be delayed by traps. Strike in sequence. Maintain discipline. The Queen watched, awe replacing her earlier surprise. Perhaps humans are more than legends, she whispered. They are clever, brave, and unyielding. Rylan observed the enemy closely, noting the small flanking unit attempting to bypass defenses. Not today, he muttered, and sent rapid response teams to intercept. Within minutes, the flanking ships were neutralized, their strategy thwarted. Hours passed. The battle was intense, precise, and exhausting, yet the city's defenders followed Ryland's guidance perfectly. Every decoy, every strike team, every trap worked as intended. Slowly, the enemy's formation broke apart. Ships collided, became trapped, or were forced to retreat. Finally, the remaining enemy vessels began a full retreat. The city had suffered minor damage, but the people survived. Cheers rose from the streets, though quiet, respectful of the exhaustion that hung in the air. The Queen approached Rylan. Her aura glowed warmly, a mixture of respect and gratitude. You have done more than defend the city. You have inspired my people. They see courage, strategy, and hope in ways they never have before. I have never met a human like you. Rylan shook his head. I only guide. Your people fought bravely, followed the plan, and adapted. Humans survive because we adapt. But courage comes from those willing to act, not from one person alone. She smiled faintly. Perhaps humans are not only survivors, they are teachers, even without knowing it. Ryland's eyes scanned the horizon. The invaders will return. They always do. But now, your people are ready. They understand strategy, adaptability, and teamwork. And with that, even impossible challenges can be faced. The Queen nodded. Then we prepare. And with humans among us, we may face anything the galaxy throws at us. That evening, the city was quiet, but the sense of vigilance remained. Troops patrolled, sensors monitored. The skies and civilians slept safely in secure zones. Rylan and the Queen walked along a balcony overlooking the city, observing the glowing lights of the buildings and the energy fields that shimmered around them. You speak often of survival, the Queen said softly. Do you believe humans can survive anything? Rylan looked at her, his gaze steady. We survive because we try, because we adapt, because we act when others hesitate, and because we help those who cannot help themselves. That is our strength. She considered his words, her aura glowing faintly in the dim light. Then perhaps, together, we can survive the coming storms. And perhaps humans can teach us more than we imagined. Rylan allowed himself a small smile. Humans always adapt. And when the impossible comes, we act. The galaxy may not expect it, but that is our advantage. Courage and strategy can change everything. As night fell, the twin moons rose over the city, casting long shadows across the streets. Inside, the Queen and the humans stood together, planning, learning, and preparing. Their partnership had grown, built not on trust alone, but on results, courage, and a shared determination to survive. The city was safe, for now. But beyond the horizon, new threats waited, forces the galaxy had never seen. And humans, with their courage, insight, and unyielding spirit, would face them head-on. The Queen's eyes met Ryland's. "You have changed my world, human, not just with strategy, but with hope. That is something even our greatest warriors could not give." Ryland nodded. "Hope is stronger than fear, and together we will turn fear into victory." The city had rebuilt itself after the last wave of attacks, but Ryland knew that the final confrontation was coming. The invaders had retreated, yes, but they were returning with greater strength. This time, it would not be enough to simply defend. They had to take the fight to the enemy. The Queen met Ryland in the strategy room, her glowing aura calm but resolute. "This is it, human. The enemy will strike soon, and we cannot wait for them to reach us. We must act decisively." Ryland studied the holographic maps, noting every possible weakness in the approaching fleet. "We cannot predict everything," he said, "but we can force them into choices. We control the battlefield by controlling their options. Speed, traps, and unexpected maneuvers will be our advantage." The Queen nodded. "Then show me. Teach us one last time how humans survive the impossible." Ryland outlined the plan carefully. The defenders would split into multiple teams, some engaging the enemy directly, others performing flanking maneuvers and sabotage. Energy traps and shield barriers were placed at key points, but the most critical element was timing. Every strike had to occur at the precise moment. "The invaders expect defense," Ryland explained. "We will give them defense, but we will use it to trap them. Then we strike at their command vessels, remove leadership, and the rest fall apart." The Queen listened closely, her glowing aura flickering with anticipation. "It is risky," she said. "One mistake and we lose everything." Ryland met her gaze. "Humans survive because we act, because we adapt, because we do not hesitate when opportunity arrives. Trust in your people and in yourself." Hours later, the enemy fleet appeared on the horizon, larger and more menacing than ever. Ships moved in formation, energy weapons gleaming, engines cutting through the sky with speed. Yet Ryland remained calm. He directed the city's forces into position, guiding them through communication channels with clear, precise instructions. The first wave approached the city, and the traps were triggered. Energy nets immobilized the larger vessels, while flanking. Teams struck smaller ships before they could reach the defenses. The invaders tried to adapt, but every adjustment was anticipated by Ryland's careful planning. The Queen observed from her balcony, awe in her expression. "I have never seen such strategy. The human... He turns defense into offense with every move." Ryland called out commands to the troops. "Focus fire on the command vessels. Other ships are trapped. Strike now." Energy beams cut through the enemy ships, disabling engines and creating chaos among the fleet. The invaders had never encountered such precision, such anticipation. Their coordination began to falter. Ships collided or were forced to retreat, and panic spread through their ranks. Seeing an opportunity, Ryland ordered the flanking teams to cut off the remaining escape routes. "Do not allow them to regroup," he said. "Force them into our zone. The city's defenses will finish the rest." Hours of careful, coordinated action followed. The invaders, once so confident, were now disorganized. Their retreat became a scramble, their plans shattered by the combination of human insight and the Queen's loyal forces. Finally, the last of the enemy vessels retreated, vanishing beyond the horizon. The city had survived the greatest attack yet. Though damaged, the buildings and energy barriers had held. Civilians emerged cautiously, relief spreading through their faces. The Queen approached Ryland, her glowing aura warm and steady. "You have done more than save my people. You have changed them. They now understand courage, strategy, and the value of insight. I have never seen hope like this in my world." Ryland shook his head. Your people fought bravely, followed the plan, and adapted. Humans can guide, but they cannot replace courage. That must come from those willing to act, and your people have it in abundance. The queen studied him, her expression thoughtful. Humans, you are remarkable. You arrive alone, yet your presence inspires an entire civilization. Perhaps we have underestimated your kind all this time. Rylan allowed himself a small smile. Humans survive because we adapt, because we act, because we see what others miss and seize the chance when it arrives. And sometimes, we inspire along the way. Outside, the city shimmered under the light of the twin moons rising in the sky. Troops patrolled, civilians moved freely, and the palace's energy shields glowed softly. The Queen and Rylan stood together on a balcony overlooking the city, a partnership formed not by authority, but by mutual respect and shared experience. "You have taught us to see differently," the Queen said softly. "Not only to fight, but to understand. Perhaps that is the greatest gift a human can bring." Rylan nodded. "Understanding is the key to survival. Strength alone is never enough. Adapt, think, act. That is what humans do." The Queen smiled faintly. "Then humanity may have a place among the stars after all. And perhaps the galaxy will learn from your kind, as we have." Rylan looked toward the horizon, where stars glimmered like tiny fires in the darkness. "The galaxy is vast, threats will always appear, but humans will be ready. Courage, insight, and adaptation are more powerful than any fleet. And with allies like your people, victory is possible even against overwhelming odds." The Queen nodded, her aura glowing with quiet pride. "Together, we have survived. Together, we have turned fear into hope. And perhaps together, we will change the fate of worlds." Rylan allowed himself a final moment of reflection. The battles had been fierce, the challenges relentless, yet humanity's spirit, its ingenuity, courage, and ability to adapt had proven unstoppable. The Queen and her civilization had learned to trust that spirit, and in doing so had found hope for the first time in countless cycles. As night fully settled over the city, the twin moons cast silver light across the palace and streets. Within the walls, two leaders from different worlds shared a quiet understanding. Survival was not only about power, but about courage, wisdom, and the will to act. The invaders would return, yes, but the city was no longer defenseless, and humans, with their unyielding spirit, would be ready. Rylan finally allowed himself a smile. The impossible had been faced and overcome. The galaxy would never underestimate humanity again. And in the quiet, glowing city, the Queen and her people knew one undeniable truth. Humans could survive anything, and sometimes they could even save worlds.